Hi guys, my name is Lacey, Spooky Lips and Fat Hips, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just posted an anti-haul. This should have been my last video if my schedule in my head is correct. So I wanted to follow that up with my tips for avoiding buyer's remorse. It's very easy to, talk shit about products and like tell yourself that you don't need it and tell your friends that you don't need it, blah blah. But actually implementing not shopping is kind of more difficult, especially if you're used to being a little bit of shopaholic. I know I'm trying desperately in my life to curb my shopping. I shop a lot. 2017 especially was like the year of makeup shopping for me, which was a lot of the reason why I decided to make a YouTube channel towards the end of the year, because I am desperately trying to knock it off. So these are things that I have found have helped curb my shopping, and specifically I'm talking about buyer's remorse. So the feeling of like you buy something and then you think to yourself like, why did I buy that? Or it gets here and it's not exactly what you wanted, or it's just a disappointing shopping experience. I so often have bought things in the heat of the moment, in the middle of the hype, and then once it got here I was like, why did I get this? So that's specifically what I'm talking about. Not so much like how to stop shop in general, but how to avoid buyer's remorse. So the first thing I'm going to suggest to avoid buyer's remorse is to only shop from companies and websites that offer some kind of a return policy. And the reason I said this is, if you remember one of my first videos where I'm talking about Kylie Cosmetics, one of my biggest critiques was they don't have a return policy. So I have a palette from them that I really don't like, and I knew immediately the second I had it that I didn't like it, but there was absolutely no way for me to return it. So that was money that I had spent that is now gone forever. So before you shop, just go on, the frequently asked questions page. See what the return policy is, whether you have the option to send back a product if it's used, if you don't like it, if they will replace it, if they will give you your money back, if you can only get store credit, because that can maybe help you decide whether or not you want to shop there in the first place. Just quick going along with that, I would recommend not shopping online from from brands and companies that don't give you the option to use PayPal. If you don't know what PayPal is kind of the middleman when you're shopping. So you enter your personal like banking and credit card information onto PayPal. You can create an account on PayPal, and they don't share that information with whoever it is that you're shopping from. They just send along the money. PayPal has a really good dispute policy, I guess you could say, where if a company is not sending you the product or isn't being truthful or isn't just not following good business practices, you can actually go through PayPal to get your money back and file a dispute claim. I've done it before. It's a really cool process, and they work really fast to help you out because they want to protect the people who use their system. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, like I said, return policy, watch out for your money. Also, if you're worried about like things like credit card theft, PayPal for sure. But anyway, the next tip for avoiding buyer's remorse is to give yourself a budget well ahead of time. And what I mean by this is, I know for me, I'm going to be buying the new ColourPop palette that's coming out. I probably have already bought it by the time that this video has gone up. So for me, in my weekly budgeting, because I am a commuter student, I have to budget it into my life, gas money and food and living expenses and things like that. I can only budget X amount for other things beyond necessities. So to me, I have to budget that ColourPop palette in. If there's a new sudden makeup release that I want, I don't have the money to get it. I've given myself a budget. And it seems kind of like simple and easy to be like budget yourself, but especially with the really like makeup wise with releases that are going to be coming out, give yourself the money to only buy that thing, or to only buy however much that you plan on buying in the near future. So that way, when new impulse buys pop up and new releases that you weren't expecting pop up and they're tempting, you physically can't buy them because you didn't prepare for it. Going immediately off of that, be sure to set limits for yourself. I am someone who will always try to get like the free shipping, for example, whatever the minimum for free shipping could be. Sometimes it's a little ridiculous. Sometimes I know Morphe's is like $100 or $75 something. Set a limit. Make sure you're falling within that limit. If I can't afford to spend more than $100 a month on things that aren't necessities, make sure you stick to that. And if you have to, make it strict. Say I'm going to go on a no buy for a whole month until I get X bonus, until I get my tax return, things like that. Like set hard limits that and make other people in your life aware of that so they can hold you accountable. Not in like a cruel way, but just like you know that guilt when you told someone that you weren't going to buy something and then you ended up buying it and they give you that look, you know that guilt. So, set the limit, make other people in your life who are close to you aware of it so they can help you stay accountable. If you're still kind of like, oh, I think I want this, but I don't know, with makeup, go through your collection. See if you have anything like that. I mentioned in my anti-haul that I really wanted the new Urban Decay Kristen Leanne collection. I physically went through my entire eyeshadow collection and pulled out all of my Urban Decay shadows and swatched them and compared them next to a picture and showed myself that I already basically had it and I didn't need it. Sometimes you need that visual reassurance that you do already have this, and those are colors that you can use, and maybe then you can break out old things in your collection. And of course, like, I'm not part of the Project Pan community, but like, maybe give yourself a goal to pan something old that you have before you buy something new or anything like that. I know that there's a couple things in my collection that I'm trying to use up. Probably gonna do a video on panning because it's something that I do want to get into. So, use up your old collection before you make the decision to expand on a new collection. I know it's hard and you can convince yourself, but I don't have it in this with this brand, or I don't have it in this formula, I don't have it in these finishes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make as much of a difference as you might convince yourself that it does. Another thing that is very hard for me to do, that I'm going to recommend for you guys to do, is to wait for reviews to come out on the thing that you're looking for. So of course, like in pictures and swatches, things can look so beautiful and so incredible and that you need them. But very often there are things that come out and you hear the reviews and they're not as great as you thought they would be, or they're not as great as they were hyped up to be. So I know it's hard, but more and more often influencers get the product before its actual release anyway, so you have access to those reviews before you could buy them anyway. So just wait and hear a couple reviews, see a couple different people's opinions, look at it on different skin tones with people. If it's a formula, look at, dry skin and oily skin reviews and people from different backgrounds with different makeup, looks and routines and things like that. Like, hear a variety of opinions because it'll give you a better basis to make your own opinion. And finally, my last tip, which to me is the most helpful tip on my list because it really has stopped me from buying a lot of bullshit, is to sleep on it. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've sleep bought things, like where I'm sleepy and I'm on the internet and I see a thing and I put it in my cart, before you know it, it's shipping to my house. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, what the hell did I just do? Whereas things that I don't buy right away, either because I didn't have the money to or because I wanted to sleep on it, very often I find myself not wanting it nearly as bad a couple days, a couple weeks down the line than I did originally. I can already feel myself not wanting the Urban Decay palette like nearly as much because I've kind of gotten over that initial, oh my god, I need to have it, and I've slept on it and days and weeks have passed and it's really not as exciting as I had convinced myself that it might have been. But anyway, yeah, those were my tips to avoid buyer's remorse, specifically with makeup, but I'm sure you can apply these things to a lot of other. Ooh, one last thing I wanted to add. Don't buy maybes. And what I mean by that is if you have to convince yourself that something could work in a certain way, or that, well, maybe I have those colors, but maybe they'll be different, never buy a maybe. That's something that I use when I'm clothing shopping, and I'm going to apply to this video too. But anyway, like I said, those are my tips to avoid buyer's remorse, mostly for makeup, but I'm sure you can apply these things to anything that you impulsively buy. If you like these kind of videos, you have any ideas for other kind of like how-to videos, if you consider this a how-to, let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!